Hi guys, I'm Priya from It's OKR and welcome back to our channel. The topic for today is how to handle H1B layoffs and everything that you must know. Everything that's going on in the macroeconomic factors is out of our control. There is so much that is happening, and we don't really know how to deal with anything that happens with our jobs, layoffs, company situations. So, what we wanted to do is make sure that at least you feel prepared and you know what the options are, what the legal considerations are, especially if you are an H1B visa because there are certain implications in terms of staying in the country after you've lost your job. So we will cover a lot of that. The great news is we have an immigration lawyer with us, Sonal Sharma from Sharma Law Associates. I will share all of her details in the description box so you can check it out. She creates a lot of content on LinkedIn, so give her a follow there so that you stay updated. Other than that, if you are new today, it's OKR is a content platform for South Asian immigrants, and we aim to educate, entertain, and empower them. So, without further ado, let's begin. Sonal, thank you so much for joining. This is a really tough topic, but we do want to make sure that people feel prepared if something like this happens, which is totally beyond their control. So, Sonal, first question. What happens if you are laid off while you are on H1B visa? Like legally, what does that mean?
Well, so H-1B visa is tied with your employer. So it's going to have a great impact if you're laid off, right? You're losing your job, which means at some point your H-1B status is going to be gone away. But in 2017, the regulations were passed, which gave 60 days grace period for everybody who is in H-1B status. If their job is, the word used is secession. So it could be resignation, it could be termination, it could be layoff, anything. As long as you don't have a job anymore for whatever reason, you get 60-day grace period to find a new job and start working again. Earlier, the day you lost your job, you're out of status that very day. That was the case. It's not the case anymore. Now you have that cushion of 60-day grace period where you will remain in lawful status at least for those 60-day period. And then that gives you a time to find a new employer, new job. It could be full time, it could be part time, anything that was paying, and the employer has to file a new petition for you, and you can start working as soon as the petition is filed.
So, Sonal, the new job also should kind of have the same responsibilities, right? That was tied to your original H1B or like the description.
No, not really.
Okay.
So it just has to meet the criteria for H-1B
Okay.
specialty occupation. So as long as you are qualified for the job, you have the education, and it meets the criteria of a specialty occupation,
Okay.
that's fine. It doesn't have to be the same or similar job, as long as, so computer, just to give an example, computer occupations have a lot of occupations under it. So as long as you qualify for any of it,
Okay.
um, they can apply for your job. Or if you have a secondary education as well and you find a job in that field, as long as you qualify for that position and the position itself qualifies for specialty occupation, it's fine. It doesn't have to be same or similar.
Okay, awesome. That's really helpful. The second one is my visa also revoked if I am laid off? I think the deeper meaning to this question, I think the person was trying to ask is like, do I have to redo the H1B lottery? How does it work? Or anything else that you think that I may be missing?
No, so visa is not revoked. So yeah, the terms are different. Like visa is what is stamped in your passport. That's not revoked. Something has to happen for it to get revoked. A criminal case
Okay.
or something, DWI or something like that. But just because you're laid off, your visa is not revoked. But that visa is not your basis to stay here. Visa is only for entering the country. So it only allows you show that visa at the CBP and they let you in because you have the valid visa to enter the country. But stay in the country is governed by your I-94. So
Okay.
in that context, you have to make sure that those 60-day grace period that you get, one thing you have to keep in mind that it's 60 days or your I-94, whichever is shorter.
Oh,
So
okay.
if your I-94 is expiring, say, in 1 month, then you only get 30 days.
Oh,
Not
interesting.
get time beyond your I-94. So it's
Okay.
60 days. In most of the cases, you do get 60 days. So if you have like validity until 2024, then you get 60 days because you're laid off
Yeah.
in 2022. But say if your H-1B petition is expiring in December of 2022 and
Oh,
you got laid off 15th of November, you're only going to get whatever time is left. It could be 30 days, it could be 15, it could be
okay.
35, 45,
Just which
but
one is low?
whichever is shorter. So your I-94 controls your stay in the United States. That's your lawful status.
Got it.
And for those 60 days, you will be considered in lawful status, although your I-94 is valid for the next 2 years, but your status is governed by, there is a difference. Generally, if you're working and you are in like maintaining status and everything, then your I-94 is what determines your status. But in the case of a layoff, because you have those 60 days, that's the time where you will be considered in status despite losing a job. So
Okay.
that's a difference that you have to keep in mind. If you stay beyond that 60 days and you haven't found a job, your I-94 is still valid for a year. If you stay beyond that, that can create problems in your future cases.
Okay.
So the difference that you have to understand is what is unlawful status and what is unlawful presence.
Okay.
Those are the things that you have to understand.
Got it. Super helpful. Um, and I think you touched upon this a little bit, but what happens if I can't find a new employer within 60 days? Does that mean I need to immediately leave based on unlawful presence?
Yes, after 60 days, you should leave because you don't really have any basis to stay here. You will not be in unlawful presence because your I-94 is still valid,
Valid. Okay.
but you will be out of status.
Got it.
So in that case, you will be out of status, not illegal. But if you cross your I-94 also, then your unlawful presence starts, which
Okay.
can trigger 3-year bar or a 10-year bar next time you try to enter the US. So if
Okay.
you stay in US more than 180 days after your authorized period of stay, which is your I-94, then it can trigger 3-year bar. If you stay here for more than a year after your I-94 expiry, that can trigger 10-year bar. So those terms, like, see, you really don't want to be in that situation. The other thing is if you really don't want to go and you have to stay here, then you have to start process for changing to some other visa category which can allow you to stay here. So,
Okay.
such as B2, you can apply for a B2 before the expiry of those 60 days. And then that kind of gives you,
More time.
reason to stay here, but then in the end, it also has to get approved.
Got it.
Then if you, while that is pending, you find a new employer, say beyond 60 days, like 90-day mark, you find the employer, but your B2 application is pending, the new employer can file the petition. Whether they're going to get the change of status for you or not, that's a question because your B2 is still not approved.
Um,
In some cases, they do it. They pick up the file, they approve the B2, and then they give you the change of status. But it's discretion. They can simply say, because the B2 is not yet approved, we can't really approve your
change the
H1B because you have to be in some status for them to give you a change of status.
Got it.
Because the B2 is pending, you are not really in any status at this point. So they could approve the H1B, but with the consular processing, in that case, you will have to step out, get the visa, and come back in.
Okay, makes sense. So the next question was, what options do they have to maintain status and stay in the US and work? So the one thing that you covered was move to B2, get your change of status and do that. Is there anything else?
Or not really. Well,
Okay,
F1 could have been a possibility, but the timelines are, processing
crazy.
times are not
Okay,
really. If you want to go back to school, you could do that, but if it's only possible if they can approve it in time. But the processing times are not really that great. So that kind of rules out that option. The other thing is if you get married to a US
yeah,
citizen or a green
yeah,
card.
that,
So
oh, okay.
that gives you, if you have, especially with a US citizen, If you get married, then, and you entered legally, so even if you fall out of status, that's not an issue because you're
Okay,
married to a US citizen, and you could
got
still
it.
file your I-130, I-485, and all of that. And you can stay here, and it's not gonna be an issue if you fell out of status because of your loss of job, because you're married to a US citizen, and that's the privilege you have with US citizen. Alternatively, if you're getting married to a green card holder, that might not help because you have to be in legal status all the time in the green card holder case, spouse filing for you. But those are the, few
Yes.
where you could stay here. And again, anything that's gonna be, you're trying, you have to see that that gets approved at some point, because if it doesn't, then again, you're in the
Yeah.
same situation.
If I change my status to H4, can I revert it to H1B?
Yes, anytime.
Okay, perfect. And this one is, can I keep my status if my employer retains me but doesn't issue me any pay?
So the legal answer is no. Because if you're on H1B, then you're supposed to be working and getting paid.
Okay.
If somebody just files your petition and then puts you on bench, that's not allowed under the law. Benching is not allowed. They still have to pay you. So getting paid is very closely tied to your H1B status. So it's in all likelihood, it's not gonna work. With your current employer, sometimes, it happens like, oh, you have a medical emergency and you want to take some paid time off, and it could be 2-3 months, an unpaid time off, right? Because the employer is still okay for you to come back because of your medical emergency or something at home. That's a different case because, it's beyond anybody's control.
Control.
And you're not willingly just trying to stay here and, not work. Like you have some medical issue or like maternity leaves or whatever.
Yeah.
Those could be justified, but where you're not getting paid for an extended period of time. But if you don't have any of such and you're still employed, then that means you have to get paid.
Sonal, like, is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that we must know, especially from the employer's end, that anyone who's facing layoffs should consider or must be aware of?
Yes. So when layoffs happen, an employer is under obligation to take certain steps. One of them is notifying USCIS that the H-1B employment has been terminated. Once that withdrawal is sent out, or notification is sent out, it's considered automatic revocation of the H-1B. So you need to understand that your employer, even if they want to help you by not withdrawing it, they're under an obligation to do it, and withdraw the LCA because there are obligation associated with that. And the third thing is they are supposed to offer you a return transportation to your home country. If you are okay, if you want to go back home, they are supposed to give you a return transportation, which means one-way flight home back home, or equivalent of like some amount for you to get the flight back home. But they're under obligation to offer you that, and you should know about it because that's what they're supposed to do. So these things, keep in mind that they're obligated to withdraw your H-1B, or like inform the USCIS about the termination of the employment, and they're supposed to offer you a return transportation.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Sonal, and for everyone who listened. Hopefully, this gives you some direction and clarity on how to proceed. God forbid something unforeseen happened. And if you found this informational, please leave a comment. Please like, share, and subscribe. We also create a lot of content on Instagram, so follow It's OKR there. I will share all of Sonal's detail in the description box, other videos that we have done with her as well. If things are not going your way, remember it's OKR. Until next time, see you again. Bye.